Hello, and welcome once again to Helium Hacks Happy Hour. My name is Travis. I go by TT over on the Discords, and glad to have everyone here this afternoon. So, we got a cool show for you. We got the team from Hotspotty with us. It's going to go over some of the cool new functionality. I know some of you have seen them on the program before, and they've got a lot of changes. They gave me a little sneak peek of some of it, and I think they're going to give us a walkthrough. So, I guess to get this out of the way, there was a lot of news come out today about Helium. I think that that's kind of been discussed in the Discords and on the stages and whatnot. So don't really want to, we can get into it later after the presentation, but that's what we're here for tonight. So I'd really like to introduce these folks. If anyone here doesn't know them, as far as this show, if this is your first time on the call, it's very casual. And so, if you have something to say, unmute your mic, turn on your video camera. We want to see your pretty faces and talk to us. Introduce yourself to the developer community here. And what I do ask, though, if you have OBS and you don't have a video camera, just turn that off so we don't have a big OBS block, up on the screen. But otherwise, yeah. If there's anything you want to talk about as far as development is concerned, writing firmware, messing around with end nodes and sensors, that's kind of what we do on this call. So people are still kind of rolling in here, but I'll tell you what, I do want to kind of get started. I want to respect everyone's time here. So Daniel, can I kind of pass the mic over to you and you introduce your team and kind of tell us what you're doing, man?
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks, Travis. It's always happy to be back on the show. I think this is like our third or fourth time here since last year. It's always a blast. So my name is Daniel. I am the CTO of Hotspotty. Here we have like a small crew of our team. Is me, Max, and Alexis, with three co-founders of the project. And then we have Rafaela as well on the other side of the screen, our sales genius as long with Sierra as well. Need to get here with the background. And yeah, we've been working on Hotspotty for since the end of 2020 and released the let's say a beta version on August last year. And since then, we've been working pretty much 7 days a week, as much as we could until we got to the point that we were able to start providing a lot of more features and utility to the network. I think every month we try to add a new feature. Sometimes it takes longer because the features are pretty massive. And yeah, that's why we're here today to show a few of the features that we launched and the ones that we're working on. It's going to be released pretty soon in the next few days to a couple weeks. Yeah, I think there's a quick intro to Hotspotty. If you guys don't know yet, I guess I would imagine that most people here already know us. We do pretty much everything that you want on the Helium network in terms of managing, planning, assessing locations, etc. with your hotspots. And yeah, I mean, we have a few things we want to talk about, new projects, a new feature set that we launched. I guess we're going to start talking about the commissions, like the payments and the commission management that we released a few weeks ago. That was like a pretty big milestone for us. We launched on August, being able to track and pay people on Agent-T. But then we know that just like that's a small, I would say there's a majority of people, but that there are so many different use cases in terms of paying your hosts that we spend a lot of time working and trying to accomplish as much as we could in this. I mean, we still have things we want to add in the future, but right now, for example, you can pay people in different fiat, you can record payments and download SV files for PayPal, Wise, you can do like payments in Venmo, like Cash App and any other thing. But I don't know if like, should we just give a quick demo, Max, of the commissions? What do you think?
Yeah, we can do that.
We can just like, I was thinking running do like maybe 3 quick examples of different payment methods. Like for example, paying people in fiat, in percentage, a fixed amount per month, and also just showing around a little bit about the new commission system. What do you think?
Yeah, okay, sounds good. Let me share my screen.
You are the share master, so.
Right, here we are. So can everybody see it? I suppose, yes.
So yeah, this is just like to let you know that this is our staging server. That's where we test new features on like a live production environment. But yeah, we can use that. Just quick intro.
Yeah. So okay. So basically, I'm just gonna go to the workspace because this is where all your data lives and where you will basically be managing your wallets, your hotspots, any locations, contacts, installs, all the way up to commission reports and paying your hosts. So what we could do is we can just go to the map and select like a random hotspot. And basically this one is one hotspot. So we can just add the wallet to automatically track the hotspot. And I was hoping this one would have a bit more hotspot. This one has 7 hotspots. So let's add that as well. Oh. Yep. And then we can basically pretend that these are our hotspots and we can assign hosts to that. So now going back to the workspace, the dashboard gives you an overview of basically your earnings, some attention lists, etc. based on these hotspots. Then you have the wallets here, which you can label and you can manage. You can see all of the payment transactions that happened for these from and to these wallets. Then you have the hotspots. I'm just going to refresh because it's still adding the hotspots. So here they are. You can see a bunch of information here by just editing the columns and just clicking on the ones you're interested in. They will automatically appear. And then the locations are essentially for planning purposes. So locations represent physical addresses where you have access to through your hosts, most likely. So you have some hotspots that you want to deploy. Essentially, you're going to find the ultimate location that you have access to. And in the case that that person that is actually granting the access to that location, you can construct agreements all along through contacts and installs to eventually pay them a profit share or some fixed amount in whatever currency that you choose. But it starts with these basic items, and then eventually you reach to this point. So what we can do here, we can, for example, add an install for this hotspot. For that, you need a location, but you have a utility function, assuming you already have installed them in the past. So we can click here to add a location with the same coordinates of this hotspot. So let's do it like this. We just save it. And let's say that we installed it, whatever, like the 9th of November. What you can do here is we can add commissions. If you click here, you can use commission templates, and these are basically predefined templates of whatever commission agreements you use on multiple occasions. You can update these in the settings, and you can be very flexible. You can give it a name, etc. So for now, let's just add a custom one. In this case, you need a contact. So let's create one for John. You don't really have to fill in all of this information, but you can. So let's save John. And this is basically how we started off being, there was one type, which is percentage of rewards, and there was one currency. What you can do now is you have 3 different options in the type, which is percentage of the rewards, recurring fixed amount. So let's say every month you want to give whatever, a certain amount in whatever currency you choose to this host for actually hosting this hotspot, or even for installing. Let's say that you have a bunch of hotspots, but you have one person who is installing them for you. You don't necessarily want to give them a piece of the recurring revenue coming from the hotspot, but you could give them a one-time fixed amount, which could also be in a template as a installer fee or something, and then you just click, you assign the contact, and done. So in this case, percentage of reward. So let's just say that we give like whatever 6% or whatever. Let's do 25%. And the start date, we should ideally put it the same as it was. Yeah, 9th of November. But yeah, you can choose this as well. And an end date is when this agreement stops. So let's just save this. And let's also add a one-time fee, or actually just a monthly fixed amount. And we can do that in another currency. Let's just use the dollar for that. Let's just put like $15, also starting the same date. And we have to assign this to a person. This could be John, but we can just add another one, like Jane, for example. Save. All right, let's save this percentage of reward. Because I added the contact, it's kind of reset the form, so I can just, no, not percentage of reward. I think we might have found a bug. Yeah, this is typical. If you do a live demo, you find bugs, right? Recurring fixed amount. Let's do dollars, and we put $15. Save. Save. All right, so now there's one active install. If now you go to the install and you, for example, say that you uninstalled the hotspot, let's say that the host no longer wants to host it, then this will no longer show as active install. This would be a past install. You can add a couple of more. Let's just do one more. So location, let's add the same one, this one, installed. Yeah, doesn't really matter. Commissions, let's do a one-time fixed amount, and let's also do US dollar, say like whatever, $31, and let's put it in December. Right? December doesn't make a lot of sense based on the installation date, but anyway, let's assume this is the case. And
You never know that maybe you went to fix something, you broke something in the guy's house that you need to change the, like, pay for the vase that you broke when you're installing. You never know what happened.
Yeah, good point, good point. And then you can see it here, the explanation of the agreement you have. So in this case, we chose to do it on another date than the install date, which can happen if you change this field after already adding this. So this is just like a confirmation that you have to agree, just to prevent some confusion in the future. This also automatically assigns the labels, which are essentially links to these contacts that have commission agreements with the related hotspot installation. So if we click on John, for example, John doesn't really look like John, but anyway, being here, you can basically see all of the information, including his contact payment methods. There are 2 installs, which are current. They have these same labels. There's an installation date, and then there's the commissions as well, which sums up all the agreements. And then here is basically where you can track payments, where you can say, okay, I paid this person that amount in that point in time. And then some comments, which is to internally keep track of whatever happened with this contact. And all of your team members within the workspace have access to this, but John doesn't, right? So we are also working on a host dashboard, which essentially will give all of this information to the actual contact, and they will be able to log in that platform, not through Discord, but just simply by entering their email address if they have one. So if now we go to the contact and we say john@do.com, then in the host dashboard, they will just be able to log in with john@do.com. They get an email with the code. If they enter it, they will be able to see all of the data that relates to them, but of course not any data relating to other people. All right, so wait, and then here you can add payment methods as well. But let's skip that for now. So what we can do now is we can confirm that these locations were added here, the contacts were added here, the installs were added here, and then in the commission report, which is basically what users usually will do once a month, for example, is to generate a report that will give you an overview of exactly who you owe what amount for which currency. So if right now we have two different currencies that we used in the commission agreements, just dollar and HNT. So essentially we will create two commission reports, one for each currency. The reason for that is that we have provided means to pay these people that depends on the currency to basically make it a smoother experience. So when you create a report, you can give it a name, can select the start and end date. This automatically selects the previous month. In this case, it's February. So if we use February, then in this case, it will not include the one-time payment because that was in December. It will only include the recurring ones. So we can do that just for the sake of checking it out. Also, the currency, you can choose for which one you actually want to generate, but if you don't do anything, it will generate for all of the ones. So there might be, in this case, a report that does not have any value. Like right now, it's still processing, so it will automatically fetch the results and show them here.
Also, when you generate the report, it's only going to show the currencies that you have installs configured. So if you add another install in, I don't know, Canadian dollars, and then when you generate the report, it's going to show the Canadian dollar as well there, just to not generate.
So here, yeah. So they're finished. In this case, we have HNT and USD. We can start with HNT because that's what people already knew before. So just gives you a high-level overview of how many contacts that have not been paid, that need to be paid, how many that need wallet to be added in order to track the payments. In this case, this shows the default payment methods. For each contact, you can select plenty of payment methods. But for each currency, you basically have to select the default one, and that's the default one that will be visible here. That will also be used for constructing the payment the payment things that you will see here. So in this case, he doesn't have a payment method yet, so maybe let me go back. So here for each one of the contacts, you can open the details and you will see the total amount owed based on this time period. The contact, you can click through on that. And then there's, in this case, one install where he has 25% of the earnings. And then you can click here, which is essentially all of the commissions of the individual hotspot earnings that make up this amount. Then you can add a payment method. The fact that this doesn't include any contact that you don't have payment methods allows you to individually track the ones that are paid and are not, like, versus not paid based on the data that's missing. So let's just add a payment method. Actually, let's just go to the map and select like a random wallet address. So we can give John a payment method. So in this case, add payment method. You can give it a name, a currency, etc. In case of HNT, there's only one option, the wallet address. You just paste it here. If you start removing, like basically if this is not valid, it will not allow you to save this. So let's do that. And here you can select if it should be the default one for HNT. So let's save this. Now it shows up here. You can add other ones. So let's say for like dollars, you want to save whatever PayPal, which you can put this email address, for example, and that would be the default for USD. But if then you add another one also for USD, which can be Cash App, like whatever, $John, then you can just uncheck this so that by default it will always be PayPal. And also here is the status. So this is basically, this reflects the payment status, and we don't actually execute payments for you. We just give you the means to do it in a very easy way. But then it's up to you to track it, to basically mark it as paid. So let's go over that. In this case, there's two options. One is using the QR code payment. One is the CLI payment. That's more for like power users. The QR code payment is essentially just a QR code that you scan with the Helium wallet, and then that's basically it. You'll execute the payment. We actually track if these payments went through, and if it happened, then it will be paid automatically. However, we still recommend you to click on Mark as paid, because what that will do is it will create a record that if John now goes to his dashboard, you will see that this payment was done. And here, from your perspective, you can see that it was paid as a QR code with this commission report. You can click here and you can see a bit more details. You can see where it came from. And yeah, and you can click through and you're back where we were starting off. So you can filter. So if you have a lot of hosts, you can just add more, to the pagination, more records if you want to see all of them. But you can also filter by text, or basically the ones that are paid or not paid. And now if you want to pay again, like for this, like these people, in this case, just one, you can't, because basically you already paid that person. So this is to prevent you from executing duplicate payments, and we show you like the errors basically. So also, for example, if you have multiple people with the same wallet address, it will also like remove one of them out of it, so you don't construct QR codes with two of the same wallet addresses. If you have, let's say, 100, then we'll construct 4 different QR codes that you can scan individually with up to 25 recipients. And then here you can see that it was all paid. And yeah, that's it. Also, if you go to John, you'll see that in the payment section, the payments in HNT are just basically the sum of everything you tracked here. But in USD, there's nothing yet. So now, and if there's questions, please ask. I'll just go through it fast because we have a lot of things to show, and like, let's just not spend too much time on this and see if there's questions rising. We also have documentation for all of this. In this case, it's the USD based commission report, where in this case, there's 2 people. So, and there's also different options to pay. In this case, so John does not have any commissions to be paid. He is here because he does have commission agreements in dollar, but based on the list of, based on the date period, there's basically no commissions to be paid. So he will not be included in the payment options. And then there's Jane, who we owe 15 bucks. So in this case, she just needs a payment method. So we can do, let's say, PayPal again. All right, like this. Oh, not again. All right. So now you have 3 options. One is a simple CSV file, which allows you to manually, run these payments. So one thing is that it will include, so the CSV file will include the details of the default payment method. So if as a payment method you included, let's say like IBAN for, like let's say for euro, you can do like IBAN with an IBAN and a big value. The CSV file will include that information. So it becomes really easy for you to use whatever payment processing software to process that. And then in this case, Wise by email. So Wise allows you to also send, like basically, it will send an email to all of the people included in the CSV file where they can collect their payments in the currency of choice. So it's also a pretty neat feature that some of our customers are using. And then PayPal also has payout swap, which allow you to construct a CSV file that you can just bulk execute these payments as well. So that's.
I got a quick question.
Sure.
On this, do the CSV exports, do those include all of the, I guess, micro commissions that you're getting broken up from the payment?
No. So for that we have something else, but that's more like tax reporting rights. That's
Right.
Yeah. So I can click on it. Actually, just let's check it out.
But we can quickly show the the coin export, for example, as well.
Yeah. So here it's very simply just the name. There's no other information of that contact, the amount, the currency, payment methods, and PayPal email. So if you have different types of payment methods, it will just add more columns to allow you to have all the information that you need. But it's just the amount. From the contact's perspective, he's getting paid from the owner of the hotspot, so he doesn't necessarily need to consider when the owner of the hotspot received the rewards. However, there we do have the means to get this information, which is at the hotspot level. So here, what you can do is you can select several hotspots, and then you can click here, export hotspot rewards for the period that you're interested in, and then you can either just generate a report, which will give you all the information, but you can also click here, and then it will be compatible with Coinly tax reporting software, and then it's just a few clicks and it will generate. Actually,
just perfect for you guys, for Americans, right? Because the tax season's coming in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so it's like this. So it basically tells you this is the received amount. It's in HNT. However, yeah, received amount in HNT. But then what we do is we convert it based on the exchange rate at the time in dollar terms. So we do all of that as well, and we just provide you with an export.
And so when you say that it exports for Coinly, that means that I don't have to go and jack around with all of the columns to get it in the right order to.
Yes, exactly. Just simply you upload it. We actually had a call with them today, and they will create a video to go over the whole process from start to end. Yeah. All right. There's this. And then for power users, there's also here the commission templates, which allows you to, as I said before, to create for example, an installer fee template, which would be a one-time fixed amount of 20, let's say, euros. And then you click here, and even more so, you can set a default commission template. And then so ideally, let's say you get started right now, and you order whatever 20 hotspots, then you basically go through the whole process of, okay, where should I actually install these hotspots? Okay, these areas are interesting. Then you add the locations that you have access to. But while doing so when you add a location, one thing is just adding an address, which is if you're at Prata, I'm just saying a random address. Whatever, 29 Lisbon. Okay, this one. Then what you can do is you can assign this to contacts. And if you do that, the moment you actually create an install for a hotspot, where you literally physically install a hotspot in that location, and you connect the hotspot and the location, it will automatically add a commission, which is the default commission that you set here for the contacts that were linked to that location. So once you get it, it's quite simple, and it will save you a lot of time in the future. So yeah, but this is also explained in the documentation. So documentation is here, docs.hotspotty.net. And yeah, so I don't know, like payment management, you can read all of these things. And yeah, if there's any questions, we're quite responsive in Discord. So
also we have a YouTube channel that we're adding more and more content as well, like some small demos about, we had demos about different kinds of commissions. We're gonna have demos about super simulations as well. So yeah, we're trying to work on the docs, YouTube videos, and we are also always on Discord. If anyone has questions, we have community people, have the mods, they're always helping as well.
right. And one more thing that I forgot is that let's say you have you already ran your commission report, but then you paid people, but then you realized, oh, I actually forgot to enter the install and contact information of this one hotspot that the host didn't get back to me. You can then either because from here, when you generate the report, it's for everyone, for all your contacts. But what you can also do is you can select a particular contact and then generate a commission report for only that one, or for only a selection of the contacts. And then it's the same flow, like what start and end date, currency, time zone, etc. And then it will just generate one just for Jane. So here, commission report for Jane, whatever, this period, generate report, and then it's processing. Yeah, that's I think that concludes the commission things. There's a lot of work being put into it, or that we have put into this, to make it as complete as possible based on all the feedback we got from our users. And yeah, we're proud of it.
Yeah, and it works great, man. The first time, I think it was right after you had rolled this out, I was able to pay all of my hosts with a single QR code, and it just went flawlessly.
Yeah.
That's
even for us, like I used to take with Hotspotty V1, we call it, took me like an hour a month.
Yeah.
Now it takes me like 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's
great.
Yeah,
and in the past, I remember, like when I was processing them, I had to do 1,000 clicks, literally, just to process payments of 1 month.
MVP.
So we still manage 150 hotspots, right? And now all that data's been input. It literally is, a couple of minutes. You can obviously audit as well, all the commissions. I don't know if you want to have just a very quick look at that, Max. So you can actually see, just to show how you can audit the commission afterwards. Because obviously, our software runs all of the numbers and everything, but before you actually pay hosts, you can still check to make sure that the workings that we've put together actually are accurate. But yeah, it literally takes a couple of minutes to pay 150 hosts, so it's super fast once everything's set up.
Yeah, that's here basically, like download raw JSON data, and then you just get like a big file that contains basically all of the information, including the actual agreements you had for which hotspots, and all of the data we need to construct like all of this outcome. We basically create a snapshot of that, and we provide you the means to download that, so that if you ever have any doubt, like, oh, this is not correct, you can verify what's wrong. Because oftentimes you might be, not oftentimes, but it does happen that these commission agreements, they're being tweaked, or like dates are changed afterwards, and then you look and it's like, yeah, this is wrong. And yeah, it is indeed wrong if you consider what's in the system right now. But back in the time when you ran the commission report, it was actually right, and that's basically what you see here. So it's a file with all of this information. It's not a lot, like the report and then the commissions and then total amount, occurrences, like all of this information. It's not always, basically you don't really need it unless you do, and then you have the means to do it, right?
Yeah, it's very technical, but it's in there. All
You
right.
also get an email when the commission report is finished, because if you have a lot of commissions to be processed, this works asynchronously. So you can either just wait here or just check your emails, and once it's done, you'll be able to come back here.
All right. Shall we move for the simulation part? Or
All right. Yes. So this
okay,
is
YOLO.
yeah. So this is like a very big how can I say, like, feature set that was missing in Hotspotty. That was this basically planned from the beginning, from like almost like over a year and a half ago. But we always focused on how can I say, like, the bottlenecks that we identified in the ecosystem, and to us that was education, because HIP 17 came out, HIP 15, and there was a lot of question marks around that, and people were like manually figuring all of these things out, but it's just too complex to do it manually. So we focused a lot on education, on visualization tools, and basically we ended up building like a full suite of everything you just saw and more, because this is just the workspace section, but there's in the map, there's so much functionality already. Yeah, I'm just going to refresh this page, but we never got to the point of completing the location assessment. And the reason is also because we believe that simplicity is key, and from our experience, like doing this assessment based on line of sight reflects what we did ourselves when we were scouting for locations, and it worked very well, which is basically, if you can see an open horizon, you don't see many obstructions blocking any communication to certain areas, you'll be pretty good, and if you're in the middle of a valley and there's lots of hills around you, you will most likely not go through the mountain. Well, definitely not through the mountain. You might bounce around it, but in the end, if you use the heuristic that if you can see it, you'll basically connect with the hotspot. We believe that that's a very simple approach that works very well, and so we wanted to do that programmatically, and it turned out to be quite challenging technically, which is also why we only got to release it over a year later. But that's what we're releasing this week, actually. So
Yeah.
what you see here is the elevation contours, which we've had for a while. So the elevation contours, basically, for people who don't know what it means, this is a color legend, which says which color basically connects all the dots on the map with the same height. You can change the distance unit to imperial for people from the US. Might require like a refresh or something. Yeah, but basically now you can see it. It's in feet. I'll just switch back because I don't really know how to think in feet terms. But yeah, so here what you see is there's a massive hill that prevents communication between these hotspots and the city center, which is how we learned the hard way that line of sight is important. Another tool that we released a while ago is the line of sight, the manual tool. So if you click, for example, here, confirm, then you go, let's say, to this point, confirm, it's green, and it's basically, you can see both points. It's 33 meters, so it's a bit excessive, but let's say it's 10 meters from this point, 10 meters in this point. Actually, there's another clear line of sight because apparently there's a hill in between somewhere. Then if you actually change point B to, let's say, Lisbon, which is what we targeted back then, you'll see that there's basically no way, unless you make this like 100 meter, even then it's just never gonna reach this this destination. So what is the super simulation? So the super simulation that we are launching later this week essentially allows you to select a location And then you can say, okay, I'm going to put a hotspot at whatever 10 meters height from the ground level. Then what we do is we go through all of the hotspots in the area and we run this calculation. And then we see if there's a clear line of sight or not. And then we give you an overview of which exact hotspot we think you're going to hit. And then that's where it starts, because like you would think that that's sufficient, but if you want to optimize for rewards, and I mean, in other words, if you actually want to help this network get better, that should not be enough. And that's why HIP 15 and HIP 17 are so important, because they regulate the rewards you'll get depending on which exact hotspots you're reaching. So let me go through super simulation. I already added some here, but again, this is also experimental. We're working quite hard on this. So this is a location where I ran a super simulation here. So you click, you select the height, and then you run a simulation. I can do that again here. Then it's going to process, you wait a bit, and then you get an email, and then you come back and you see it. So in this case, I can already click on this one. So based on the calculations, what you see is on the map, this is only going to see very few hotspots. So in this case, only 8, which is not a lot. So this represents a histogram of all of the hotspots in the ecosystem and how many other hotspots they are witnessing. And then we benchmark, we basically use that as a benchmark, and we see basically if it's in the bottom 25th percentile or in the top 5 percentile. And then we basically match this number into this histogram. And then you'll see in this case that it's pretty poor as a performance. Here at the bottom, you can see which other hotspots you're seeing. And then this is the interesting stuff. So basically, what we did was we looked at HIP 15, HIP 17, and what regulates how much value there is to witnessing a hotspot. And here in the table, essentially, you can boil it down to 2 factors that are multiplied. So in this case, it's the witness reward units, which is a function of how many other hotspots are already seeing this hotspot. If there's only one other hotspot seeing this hotspot, there's still a lot of value to witnessing this hotspot. And that will reflect in a higher value here. If plenty of hotspots are already seeing it, this will be lower value. Then the transmit scale, I'm sure you're all familiar with that. That's basically you regulating the density of how many hotspots are in your area. And then the product of that is what we call the witness score. And essentially, all of these witness scores, you can add them up, and then it will be reflected in a POC score, like a proof of coverage score, which is then directly comparable to existing hotspots. But we're looking at a hypothetical hotspot. And the reason why it's directly comparable is because all we do is we use the same mechanics that are used for the proof of coverage reward system in combination with the witnesses data of the hotspots versus the location, line of sight, visibility data from our simulation, which then allows us to benchmark it against the entire hotspot ecosystem. Which right now is like 650,000 if people are watching this later on. Yeah, and you can see it's a pretty poor performing location. So my guess is that another thing that I didn't say is the height of the recipient. So like the hotspots that are being seen, if there's no height specified in the blockchain, we use 10 meters. If there is a height specified, we just use that height, which in this case, 2 meters, 15 meters, 46 meters. If then this is pretty high, by the way. So if then you click on Open LOS, we are immediately going to see the same tool as we highlighted before. where you can see the specified 10 meters of our location against the 46 meters, and then why there's actually direct line of sight. So yeah, you close this, you go back, and the lines that you see here, they reflect the line of sight connections, but they also reflect the value of the connections. So in this case, it's either a red value or basically a gray value. Gray means this hotspot is offline in this case. Gray basically means there's no value to witnessing it, and that's because there's a, like in the transmit scale and in the reward calculations, there's some kind of mechanic that will see how active this hotspot is, and if it's inactive for a while, it will get reduced to, you know, not being
3,600 blocks. If it
Yeah.
doesn't, if it's offline and didn't do anything for
like
3,600
2.5 days,
blocks,
I think,
Yeah.
something like that. So basically here, you see, you can see this hotspot, but you cannot count on earning anything from it right now because it's probably offline, whatever, but it can change in the future, and that will impact the score. And then these red ones basically mean like, yeah, there is value to witnessing them, but actually not a lot, because most likely a bunch of other hotspots are already witnessing it. Then what we can do is, and that's the interesting part for people who are looking at deploying a lot of hotspots, is you can essentially bulk simulate it. So you can import using CSV a bunch of locations, and then you can specify the metadata, like the height at which you can install a hotspot, and then you can simply run super simulations for all of them. And then the next thing you can do is you just sort by profitability, essentially. And then you know where to prioritize your efforts. So in this case, this is,
sorry, yeah, no, finish.
so this is a top 6%, so it's pretty good. So let's check it out. So in this case, also if you have a lot of visibility, these lines, they do slow down the performance of the app. If you go here and you click on witness lines, you remove them, they will still be visible because they're highlighted in the color, and all the ones are gray. So that's like a kind of a performance hack. I'll just leave it for now, but this is just a side note.
If your computer is struggling a little bit, just turn it off.
So here you can see that it's not hitting these hotspots because there's clearly some mountains in between. The same here, right? Like these hotspots are not visible. There are hotspots hitting like hundreds of kilometers. But of course, if there's a massive mountain in between, that will not happen. So in this case, it's apparently pretty good hotspots. There's some green ones out there, meaning these hotspots are not really seen by many other hotspots, and it has a good transmit scale. Some orange ones, and and then here you can see this is the distribution of how many hotspots having which kind of classification of the witness score, and then this is basically the combination of how many are you seeing and how valuable are they, and then the combination of that is basically it. This another quite interesting thing, but it's still in active development, is the fact that this simulation is also designed to work for other locations. So what if you don't have hotspots around? You can essentially put all of your coordinates in whatever, like some rural area, and then run simulations on all of them. And this will work even without visible hotspots. So you'll have a bunch of locations that are visible from this location and vice versa. And we calculate the equivalent of all of these scores for these locations. So that you can essentially do a greenfield deployment in an area that really, really needs the coverage versus like existing cities.
Yeah, one thing that can you go down a little bit on the chart? So one small thing, one small detail, that those charts, those bars, they're not percents, they're percentile. If you remember a little bit of the probability and statistic classes. So it's a little bit different than just the percent. But the idea of this, like, you don't necessarily need to go all technical. Like, of course, Max is, we're doing this demo to show how things work. But basically, all you need to know, it's like the number of visible hotspots and your POC score. If it's
The
a
POC
good
score
POC
is
score,
all you need to know, essentially. You
yeah,
don't need to care. If you're not technical, you don't really care. You just want to assess. Look at this. There's some other simulations with a different height and see if you can actually install it, right? Like if you have access to the top floor versus the first floor, you can check the difference here. You'll see the POC score is most likely going to be better, but maybe it's not worth the effort. It's up to you to decide. But at least you can get a better feel for it. Yeah, and also this is still in the works, but we're providing statistics across the network for like what was it, like the POC score, the witness scores, the transmit scales, valid witnesses, so you can have a better feel of like what to expect across the network. Yeah, we're still going to change this, so I don't want to focus too much on that, but yeah.
Yeah, working on the simulations, we had to add a lot of new, let's say, tables to the ETL to process a lot of new things. So then we just let them be available as well for the statistics and all. So yeah, so I guess this is the super simulation. It's still work in progress, but I think we're very close from releasing it, and we're super excited. And for what we noticed, like Max said in the beginning, line of sight and RF simulations, they don't differ. To be honest, if a 3 dBi antenna can go pretty far, as we know, so I don't think like it's a different way of thinking, and I think it makes a lot of sense, at least on our experiments and our backgrounds.
Yeah, another thing in favor of this is that you only need to consider the height. Like you don't have to think about what's the frequency I'm operating on, what is the terrain type, is it suburban, is it whatever, what kind of antenna do I have, like what do I know? Like if you're just getting started, you don't want to dive into all of these details unnecessarily. You just want to get a rough idea of, you know, if it makes sense or not.
But also, I guess the people that perhaps aren't as technical, but the LoRa standard, the propagation is very good, right? It's very low frequency. So if you have got good height, the idea is that it is highly likely to, you know, to witness other hotspots that have also got a reasonable height. So the RF stuff is obviously a different approach to some other tools that are out there that uses RF. However, we think that using, you know, elevation and elevation profiles is also a pretty smart way of doing it because of, you know, how LoRa works. So yeah, it's a different approach, but we think it's going to be, you know, a new and exciting one.
I've got a question about the LOS, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Is it possible to have it scale? So essentially when you're zooming in to do kind of like a micro measurement, it auto, you know, uses 2 kilometers and shifts you way off to the right. Is there a way that you guys could have that auto scale in the future?
Like I saw your question, I didn't really understand, like maybe.
So you want me to do you mean this one or?
Oh, when you click confirm and then go to the next one?
Can you elaborate, please?
I think when you click, you mean when you click confirm, the first one, it shifts 2 kilometers. Is that what you're saying?
Right. So on a micro scale, I mean, if you're zooming in and you're trying to maybe navigate,
if you,
I don't know, you know, kilometer scale as well, but really, really small. If you're zoomed in, you're trying to measure between 2 hotspots, for instance, to make sure you're not 300 meters. If you click the first one and you click if you go to click the one, it shoots you way far over.
Yeah. So put location A and zoom a lot, right?
So basically what you're saying is here, if it's, let's say if it's less than 1 kilometer, to show it in like meters, something like that. Ah, we do that. We already do that.
Zoom in and click the first
you got to start again.
No, he means that after you click the A, the B is going to be too far if you're zoomed in. Like 2 kilometers too wide. When we're zoomed in, it gets out of the map.
Okay, wait. So just trying to get it right. So I click here, and then now it's going, that's what you mean.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a
should be
massive
like-
problem, right?
Thing is, we don't really have the data, the contextual data to know, I think, how much we're zoomed. Actually, we do, but I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I think it would add a little bit of complexity. I mean, we can add in the feedback website and get that. It's definitely not going to be our priority right now, but I feel you. There's something that we can improve for sure.
Yeah, it was just a small thing that as I'm doing simulations for myself, I found myself having to, keep shifting over and over and over when I'm just measuring between, if I'm going to put it at this house or that house and things like that. So.
Oh, with super simulation, then we don't need to do that anymore, right? We can just run the simulations on the locations and should do most of the job. Any more questions regarding this? Otherwise, we can pass. I don't know. We don't have a lot of time, right, Travis?
Take all the time you need. We got plenty of time.
All right.
I could click on the pricing if you want, but I don't know if Alexis wants to highlight
Did you
something
want?
or.
Yeah. Did you want to touch on the mobile app? I know we weren't going to demo it, but perhaps we can just. There's a couple of things that are up and coming, right? And perhaps the mobile app and the host dashboard we could just talk about. But not
Yeah,
demo.
we're releasing our own Hotspotty app for Android and iOS. Both are at the Apple and Google Mercy right now. Just waiting for them to approve the app. So it's gonna be like a beta app. Our current app, you don't really. You're going to be able to see all the information that you have on your hotspots. Right now, you're not going to be able to manage the things like you have on the website. Also, just a quick reminder that our website is mobile friendly. Everything that you can do on the website, you can also do on the browser, on the phone. But the idea is that the web app, the mobile app is going to get better and better. We want to add more notifications. One thing that you can already do now is to change the Wi-Fi password, run diagnostics, everything that we had before on the Helium app as well. And soon we can add more. We're gonna add the makers, and you can onboard hotspots and all that jazz. That's coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, and the onboarding of hotspots will be also quite interesting because it will kind of bootstrap you with locations and whatever installs, so that it will make it a lot easier to go through the whole flow of managing your hotspots. It's not just like here you are, it's on chain. It's gonna assist you to already input some information through the app.
Yeah, I mean, we're very excited. We will probably shoot some tweets and more information about it very soon. But yeah, I just wanted to point that the mobile is coming. And now I guess we can just talk really quickly about the pricing that we announced the first pricing, and then we rolled back and start from scratch. First time is a charm, let's say second charm. Hopefully it's gonna be a charm, not the third one. But hopefully, if you guys have any question about the pricing, I guess Alexis can run a quick example.
Yeah, maybe I can share my screen. See my screen, yeah. So yeah, I thought just before we go into the pricing, I just wanted to show people a few things. Obviously, we went straight into the commission stuff and demoed that and the super simulations, etc. But for anyone who is perhaps a little bit less familiar with Hotspotty, even though we've been around for quite some time now, I just wanted to very briefly go over basically our feature set, just super fast. We've spent quite a bit of time updating our site. Hotspotty, we plug it as your all-in-one tool for building the Helium network. And broadly speaking, we have sort of 5 category areas. So there's, understand the hotspot data. So, easily visualize and completely understand all the Helium hotspot data on one platform. So we've got a lot of analytics. Understanding, Helium, it can take a little bit of time to get your head round, and we do a pretty good job of presenting that data. So there's that. There's optimizing hotspot locations. Obviously, we've just showed you the super simulations, but we have quite a lot of other analytical tools that assist you to do that. And then you've got the monitoring and managing, so you can monitor and manage all of your hotspots in one place, including notifications for when hotspots go offline, etc., and come online. And then we've got 2 different types of collaboration. So there's a collaboration with your team. You can have multiple workspaces. Perhaps I'll go into that in a moment with regards to the pricing. As well as invite team members to collaborate on the same data. Perhaps if you've only got 5 or 10 hotspots, that you don't necessarily need that. But when you start managing, a larger fleet of hotspots, working with different people with different skill sets to do that is helpful. And then we've also got collaboration with the community, where you can register your or verify your wallet and all of the associated hotspots, and collaborate and communicate with other willing hotspot owners. And then last but not least, it's obviously the managing and automating the payouts, which we touched on today. So yeah, that's just at hotspotty.net. You can view that under the features. So we've got those 5 main areas. So for example, understand your data. We've got all of the features of that category. So there's that. The pricing we'll move on to just a moment. We also have launched professional services as well. So some people are already familiar with Hotspotty, or they're happy to learn by themselves. It's relatively intuitive. Some of the we have the documentation, as we discussed. But if anyone wants to get started perhaps a bit more quickly, or if they've got a larger deployment of hotspots or assessing locations, you can purchase the professional service packages from us. And then under the learn, so we've got the documentation, which we've touched on. I think Max showed you that a little bit. We also have an academy program, which we've just launched recently, which allows any Helium users that are interested in getting to become basically hotspot certified professional, so they can provide our services on behalf of us to other users. So you can simply register there. Rafaela, who I think is also on this call, looks after all of the sales side of things. So yeah, you can simply just register here, fill in your details, submit, and we'll get back to you. Obviously we have a blog, and then there's the feedback, which everybody we push people to submit feedback. We encourage people to do that. We've got a lot of feedback. We've had over 200 feature requests, some bug reports, etc. And people can also upvote certain feature requests, etc. So there's that. And then you can collaborate with us on our Discord. So just hotspotty.net/Discord. And last but not least, you can request a demo. So if you'd like a personalized demo, you can complete that here. So with all of that being said, I'll jump into the new pricing structure. We've pretty much got we've actually got 4 plans, but 2 paid for plans. So we've got the community plan, which is free. So here you see we've got 4 plans. You can compare those plans here, because there's quite a lot of features in each one of those categories, like I was discussing. So you can see all of the features under visualize and understand, under planning and optimizing, under monitoring, notifications and management, the team collaboration, community collaboration, and advanced commission tracking. We still need to update that advanced commission tracking a bit more for the new features that we've released, but you can see that it's quite extensive. There's a lot of features there, but this helps you to understand relatively quickly what's included in which package. So the community starts off just $0. It's free. Pro is $5 per month, and business is $25. This is the base price, and then you need to add hotspots that you'll monitor and manage, and super simulations, which we've discussed. So I'll just go back to the pricing. So so basically you choose the plan that you want. So you assess what features are in each plan, and then when you click on the Pro, you just add the amount of hotspots that you want to manage and the amount of simulations that you want to simulate, and it will automatically work out the price for you. So I don't know, let's say we just want 10 hotspots. If you're on the Pro plan, that will cost you a total of $10. So it's the Hotspotty Pro price is $5 plus the $5 to manage those additional 10 hotspots. You can actually see the breakdown of the pricing for the hotspots. So, you know, we go from 1 all the way up to sort of 500. Plus, if you we have made it pretty competitive if you are purchasing in bulk. So, for example, 1 to 10 hotspots is 50 cents per hotspot. But if you go above 10, it goes down to 40 cents, and it goes down all the way to 15 cents if you're above 500 hotspots. And we have a similar discount structure on the super simulations on the right hand side there. So yeah, that pricing will be going live on the 2nd of April, which is this weekend. Sorry, Dan, you're gonna.
Yeah, I'm just saying one thing. That if you see it go down a little bit, there's on top of the high pricing table. What we're doing, we calculate the average hotspot earning for the entire network.
Oh yeah.
And then we have an idea like how much that average hotspot is making per month. So we can say that with 10 hotspots, our pricing, 10 hotspots making average $808 a month. So like the pricing they were charging is like less than 1% of that, just to put things into perspective.
Yeah, I think we ran quite a lot of numbers, and it was around 0.5% of the fleet. Obviously, but having said that, I think the types of customers that will be using Hotspotty are probably the ones that perhaps have got better installs. That isn't necessarily the case because Hotspotty is for all kinds of users, but that value will probably be even more competitive in that respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you optimize your hotspots well, you're not necessarily going to have the average rate.
Maybe you can also touch on the locations.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, so we for each hotspot and simulation, we provide 2 locations, and the locations are quite a prominent feature within Hotspotty. Like initially, we had only added 1 location, but because they appear in, like, we basically have different types of simulations. So we do simulations for transmit, scale, and we also have you require a location for adding an install. So we wanted to make sure that there was plenty of locations for users to use, and they didn't feel like they ran out of them. We got a lot of feedback regarding that, and we felt that we had to up that to make it fair and make people feel comfortable with the pricing, and also so they could kind of understand it. It was getting too complex to potentially minimize the locations a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I like the new pricing. We got a lot of compliment, and I think comparing to the first one that we offered, this is a little bit more clear.
In terms of the community plan, so what you basically get there is, apart from the features set that is slightly different, most of the features you get as well in the community plan, but the biggest difference is you can have at max 1 hotspot, 1 simulation, and 2 locations. So 1 simulation is basically 1 simulation per month. You can do 1 every month. But if you do want to track multiple hotspots, you do need to upgrade to base plan, and then you can basically add hotspots.
Yeah,
easy. And I think the price is pretty good. So look at there, like 50 hotspots, you're going to be paying 0.37% an average reward of a hotspot for the monthly plan. I don't want to see any complaints. Come on.
Also, we are going to continue to add features to Hotspotty. As much as we are pivoting from beta to a freemium model, the Hotspotty team really does love the Helium project and the Helium community. Obviously, we've added quite a lot of utility to the network for a long time, We've had our challenges because I think we're up to perhaps 180,000 users now, and often have thousands of simultaneous users, etc. So I probably should add is that the performance will improve significantly at the beginning of April. Primarily because there's not going to be so many people hitting our infrastructure. So paying customers will see a significant improvement to the performance. I think I saw a comment asking about etc.
We had people they had like 500 wallets and 20,000 hotspots in the workspace. But also with like more money coming in now, we'll be able to also add more servers if needed. We already have like plenty of beefy servers to handle the current load of the people who are like destroying our servers. I think it's a similar issue that Helium has with the API, like someone hitting 10,000 requests a second, right? But I think now with billing, things are going to be a little bit more controlled. I didn't want to invest more, let's say, resources on the infrastructure before billing goes live, because I knew that once that happens, things are going to get a little bit better. And if it doesn't, then I will, okay, let's just, put more beasts to run this. I think one thing that is important for us to say is like before the 2nd of April goes live with the billing, we suggest the people that have their workspaces to start actually cleaning up the workspaces in a way that it's going to be for actually what they're going to use. A lot of people are just following like a bunch of wallets, just track random wallets, which you can, but you have to pay for that in this case, right? We also implemented a way to delete workspaces. So if you have a lot of workspaces that you don't want to use for some reason, so you can just go ahead and delete them and then start cleaning up your workspace and your work environment before switching to the billing. Yeah.
One thing I will say though is when you were showing this demo, you were kind of flying around pretty quickly. When I'm at least sitting down in front of it and using it, I really haven't noticed severe lag using the application for what I'm doing.
Thanks.
I mean,
we did put a lot of effort over the past months and improving, and like performance improvements, it's not like one toggle you need to switch. It's basically compound return of a lot of small efforts and many different things. So yeah, we did do a lot of efforts, which is why it's a lot smoother now than it was a few months ago.
There was a time
One thing that you mentioned was how if you calculate line of sight between 2 points, then that can be reused in other calculations, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like every time someone adds a new location to the system, automatically we start calculating all the points around that to try to increase the speed. So let's say you start a new simulation, it's going to see what are the calculations that are already done, and just see the difference or the points that I still don't have in the database, and then I'm going to calculate. So our system is 100% of the time calculating locations and save them to like a database that have all the points with different altitudes, and because we try to do as fast as we can to run them. So yeah, that's why we're going to try to improve, because if you start a new fresh simulation, it can take like 5 minutes depending on the amount of hotspots you have around it. But if we pre-calculated, let's say 90%, and then when you run the simulation again, it's only going to calculate for the remaining 10%, so that can take like 30 seconds maybe. So one thing that Max was showing about the speed of the website that people say, if you, depending on your computer, right? Because like Max is running on the MacBook M1 Pro Max Ultra, whatever they have. So if you add all of the extra toggles, depending on your computer, it's going to depend on your computer setup, right? But there are ways that we can do that to stop looking of the hexes, all the hexagons, disable the too close to witness, start only showing hotspots that are online and offline on your map. Those are the things that actually gonna increase the performance on your computer. We already, like he mentioned, we spend a lot of time on performance improvements already, and being able to disable the things so that your computer can breathe a little bit better. It's the best we can do right now. I like to think, for example, Hotspotty as being like Photoshop for Helium. You can't have like a really, really old computer and expect Photoshop to run smoothly, right? So
just optimize your hotspots and buy a better computer, right?
yeah, exactly.
Hey, I think Sean, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I do. So earlier in the call, you showed collaborating with a host. You showed that I wasn't right in front of my system then, but you showed how you can send something to a host and they can look up their earnings, right? That does not count toward the number of teammates you're collaborating with in a subscription, correct?
No, it does not. Yeah, it's
okay, independent.
Sorry.
Okay, good.
You're referring to the host, the host dashboard, the host login, right?
Yeah, host dashboard. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've not used that, but I plan to. That'd be great.
Yeah, that doesn't use up your team members, no.
That's basically contacts, and there's no limit in how many contacts you upload or use.
Thanks.
So team members are here, and you can basically only the business plan you can allow team members to be added, and up to 10 basically, but they don't really impact how many, like the plan doesn't impact how many contacts you can upload.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah, and regarding the performance improvements, so for example, I can show you, okay, it's still processing. But one of the things that actually does take up a lot of like processing is calculating the transmit scales. So that is why by default the online status is the one that's loaded, because that doesn't. We basically toggle off all of these calculations, and the moment you click on a hotspot and then you actually click on reward scaling, then we will do all the calculations, but only when strictly necessary, and by default it's not strictly necessary. The moment you change it here to like simulated transmit scale, it will do all the calculations. And of course, if you're in New York or something where there's like a place with 10-15,000 hotspots on a moderate computer, it will definitely slow things down. So these are the small tweaks that we identified and did, is just toggling off the computations that are not really necessary. Another one is the witness lines. So if you click on a hotspot, actually, let me just sort by a number of valid witnesses. So this one has 219. If you click on witnesses, click here, then basically I can show the lines. Actually, it should show the lines. Okay, apparently there's a bug in the code which happens, but this basically should show all of the lines, and it does not. But when it does show the lines, then it's definitely taking up processing power, because it needs to calculate all of these coordinates and draw a line. And yeah, so we recommend, especially with the super simulations, to actually do toggle this off if your computer might not be able to process it. And you will notice it when you're showing a super simulation and there's a clear lag. It will most likely be caused by that. So I clicked on the wrong thing.
I mean, there was a time that by default was the reward scale calculations, everything was done in the browser, and that was the time that we got a lot of complaints from people that the website was super slow.
Here, so you can see, right? I'm trying to zoom out. This one, I just put it ridiculously high, like 50 meters on top of a hill, has 1,200 visible hotspots, and yeah, so clearly a good performer, but it does slow down. I can barely zoom out. So what in this case you should do is to just click here, and then you toggle this off, you go back, and now it's smooth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just want to highlight that. pretty good location though.
Let's do it.
I've got a quick question or clarification, I guess, about the billing process. Because that's kicking in here in what, a day and a half, 2 days. If someone misses that deadline, but they do, they do want to get an account or they want to upgrade that, what status does it throw the account into during that time?
It's basically you become like your workspace will become a community workspace. So you will not like lose your data. Like you will still have, let's say here 8 hotspots, but then you will only see one, and there will be clear like banner saying, "Hey, it looks like you don't have enough hotspots in your account. Click
Gotcha.
here to upgrade." And then Daniel was talking about how you can delete the workspace. So I'm just gonna create a test one. I'll just add a hotspot like yellow, just randomly adding one. Cool. So I can just go to the settings of the workspace, ensure that you're in the right workspace. In the danger zone, which is new, you can now click on delete the workspace. We cannot revert this. This is a disclaimer, but basically you can just delete the workspace. You're logged out. If you log in, it's no longer going to be there, basically.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Now, if it kind of whittles me down to just showing one hotspot, do I get to choose which one that is? If I
No, it's completely random, of course. It's gonna be the least interesting one.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but that's what we're trying to accomplish. Like, and then you can just upgrade to the plan or start and like delete that workspace to start one with the plan. That's why we're trying to like, okay, let's start already planning around what you want to use to just make the transition a bit easier, right?
Yeah. Another thing important is that there's basically only one community. So right now you can have unlimited workspaces. The plans, the pricing is at the level of the workspace, but you can only have one community workspace. Otherwise, people could just like cheat, right? Like they can stack up the one hotspot workspaces until they have as many workspaces as they need. But to prevent that, we basically will not allow you to have multiple free workspaces. But right now there are people with multiple workspaces, so that's what the migration guide is telling you is you should actually go through them and delete what's necessary or migrate. We have export functionalities in even the hotspots. I mean, adding a hotspot is really simple. It's just a matter of adding the wallets, and it's fairly straightforward. But if you do want to do one last export, you can basically do it like this, and that goes with all of your data. So in that sense, we did make it as easy as possible to for people to opt out if they want to, or just migrate their data into just one workspace and start paying for that.
But also, I was just also going to add that the community plan is essentially a sort of permanent free trial in that respect, right? It is it's obviously limited by the amount of hotspots and locations, but in terms of the features, actually, it's quite extensive. So you can use the community plan to test Hotspotty pretty well. The features that aren't included are a bit higher end, so aren't typical for hotspot deployers of perhaps 5 or 10 hotspots, But you can use the community plan to try out Hotspotty still.
Yeah, we intentionally made it in the second iteration as affordable as possible for like the novice up to large deployers, because we realized that having everyone still using Hotspotty allows collaborative planning and efforts. And like a city, you can only like truly optimized for it if you're working together, which is what this platform, was started with, providing the tools to do that, and we don't want to change that. And yeah, that's basically it.
And I always ask you guys about this, but the Discord integration, just 2 days ago, someone in the automatically created Discord channel for kind of my area, my neighborhood around here, someone said, "Hey, I just moved here. I just got a hotspot." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." If you're not
That's
familiar
awesome.
with it, the Discord communication and kind of teamwork functionality is very cool.
Yeah, this one, right? Discord collaboration, discuss in Discord.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, we have around 7% of the network verified, so it's not insignificant. But at the same time, we'd like to work on getting more people to collaborate. We've got so many features that promoting some over another is a little bit of a challenge still. But yeah, we want to do what we can to get people to verify their wallet so that people can collaborate and make a better network together, right? Which is a big part of. That was actually one of our original features and in Hotspotty that's still used quite a lot. A lot of people still send private messages to each other and collaborate on Discord like you were talking about. I think Max is showing off the time travel.
Yeah, it's like basically educating, showing the trend.
Yeah.
Lisbon used to be such a pretty city.
Yeah.
Now it's all red. If you look at the right.
Yeah, simulated.
Yeah. Oh, this was actually really cool recently. So I identified. I don't know if I have screenshots still. Basically, in terms of reward scaling, this one was at 0.25. So the whole area was 0.25 or less, and there were like whatever 750 too many. And I posted it in the Discord, and because what this basically was saying was this just needed 3 more hotspots in neighbor E, which is this one, and then this whole thing would basically be drastically improved. And it happened. Somebody did it, or some people collaborated, and now this whole area is slightly better.
Doubled, right?
Like that.
It went from 0.23 or something to almost 0.5.
Yeah, it's a massive improvement. Actually, I made a
The
video.
bots, when Max says, "Hey, you folks need to move these,"
Yeah, I wish I could show you. I made a video, like a Loom video, showing what needs to be done, and people took my word for it. No, that's basically what we did. What we love doing is providing people the tools to come to this conclusion themselves. And yeah, it's been working pretty well, I think.
Do we have any other questions from anyone? No, Raphael has been assisting us answering all the questions on the chat.
Well, thank you all very much for coming on and demoing these new features.
Thanks for having us.
For anyone who isn't familiar with Hotspotty, they only touched on the feature set really that this software does, and some of what you were doing there at the end on kind of evaluating areas for rolling your hotspots out in. And there's a lot of information that they make it very easy to kind of play around with. So check out the videos, check out the documentation that they have, play around with it, and it's the best software out there for Helium. You folks have done a big up job. This is fantastic.
Thanks,
Wisely, right? Thanks. Yeah, we really appreciate it. It's been a wild journey. We learned so much doing this project as well. Just the line of sight alone. We learned so much about NASA data sets and then trying to interpret things. It's been pretty cool. That's what I like to do as an engineer, right? Just get hard problems to solve. and that's what we do.
No, I've got a question, maybe a feature request, maybe a question. Have you put any thought into obtaining sites for 5G for cell phone towers, or on the 5G side? Okay.
That's definitely in our roadmap to start.
Okay.
Once we're done with most of our current roadmap, very soon we're going to start implementing tools to assess on the 5G simulation. I don't know about simulation, but like assessing 5G locations as well, because that's a total different game, right?
Right. Different data set. Yeah, my interest is not outdoor 5G like many, but indoor. But if I'm considering an office building, let's say a waiting room, if it's a block away from a high-powered tower, I won't even investigate that building. So that's my interest. Outdoor sites indoor on behalf of the outdoor simulation.
Yeah, we have. I wouldn't say necessarily. Well, I guess perhaps a bit superficially discussed it, and there's obviously some makers. There's more makers that are entering the 5G, side. Obviously, Freedom 5, the first ones. So we've been chatting to them a little bit. But yeah, I think it's important that there's like a high amount of traffic, right? And it's underrepresented. Like just very sort of high level. That is what you need. But finding that data set and delivering it on Hotspotty so people can, just a bit like elevation contours, right? Like you turn that on and you can quite quickly, move around a large area and identify areas that would be good to place hotspots. So, we need something like that, right? To identify areas that have got a lot of traffic that is underserved. So, but that definitely, it's certainly on our roadmap.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Well, I guess that's it, right? We can switch from energy drinks to beer now.
Exactly. Well, thanks for having us, Travis. We always enjoy being on Helium Hacks, and we actually recognize quite a lot of people in this chat. So thanks for listening to us for the last hour and a half. And obviously, you can always catch us on our Discord as well, and on Twitter, on YouTube, etc. So we're pretty active in all of these areas. So we like hearing from people in the community.
Yeah, we love having you on the show. You're always welcome over here, even if it's not talking about your software. You just want to come in, kind of hang out, and bullshit about Helium a little bit. It's always great seeing you, team.
All right. Nap time.